Good evening, and welcome to this journey through history as we delve into the story of how America was founded. This tale is one of exploration, ambition, conflict, and the enduring human spirit. From the early settlers breathing uncharted lands to the revolutionaries who forged a nation, let us uncover the rich history that gave birth to the United States of America. The story begins in the late 15th century, a time of great maritime exploration. The European powers, particularly Spain and Portugal, sought new trade routes to Asia. In 1992, Christopher Columbus, an Italian explorer sailing under the Spanish flag, stumbled upon the Americas while searching for such a route. Though he never set foot on what is now the United States, his voyages opened the door for further exploration and colonization. Following Columbus, explorers like John Cabot, sailing for England in 1997, and Giovanni da Verrazzano, an Italian sailing for France, mapped parts of North America's eastern coastline. These early expeditions laid the groundwork for European claims and eventual settlement. The first permanent English settlement in North America was established in 607 at Jamestown, Virginia. This colony, backed by the Virginia Company, faced immense challenges, hostile environments, disease, and conflicts with indigenous peoples. Yet, it endured thanks in part to the cultivation of tobacco as a cash crop. Further north, in 620, the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock, seeking religious freedom. Their Mayflower Compact, the document establishing self-governance, became a cornerstone of American democratic principles. Over the next century, more colonies were established along the Atlantic coast, from New Hampshire to Georgia. Each colony developed its own distinct character. For example, the New England colonies focused on fishing, shipbuilding, and trade, while the southern colonies relied heavily on agriculture and enslaved labor. This period also saw the tragic displacement and suffering of indigenous peoples, whose lands and lives were irreparably altered by European colonization. The transatlantic slave trade further stained this era, as millions of Africans were forcibly brought to the colonies to toil in harsh conditions. By the mid-18th century, the 13 British colonies were thriving. However, tensions between the colonies and the British Crown began to grow. Britain's costly wars, including the Seven Years' War, 1756-1763, left it financially strained, prompting the Crown to levy taxes on the colonies. The Stamp Act of 1765 and the Townshend Acts of 1867 were particularly resented. Colonists argued that they should not be taxed without representation in Parliament, coining the famous slogan, "No taxation without representation." In 1773, the Boston Tea Party became a symbol of colonial defiance. Patriots, disguised as Mohawk Indians, dumped an entire shipment of British tea into Boston Harbor to protest the Tea Act. Britain responded with the Intolerable Acts, further escalating tensions. In 1775, the first shots of the American Revolution were fired at Lexington and Concord in Massachusetts. The conflict quickly spread, pitting the colonies against the world's most powerful empire. Led by figures like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin, the colonies fought for their independence. On July 4, 1076, the Second Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence authored primarily by Jefferson. This document proclaimed the colonies' right to self-govern and emphasized principles of liberty and equality. The war raged on for 8 years, with key victories at Saratoga in 1777 and Yorktown in 1781. The latter, where British General Cornwallis surrendered, marked the effective end of the war. In 1783, the Treaty of Paris was signed, officially recognizing the United States as an independent nation. With independence won, the new nation faced the daunting task of creating a government. The first attempt, the Articles of Confederation, proved ineffective due to its weak central authority. In 1787, delegates convened in Philadelphia to draft a new constitution. This document established a federal government with a system of checks and balances among the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. It was ratified in 1788, and George Washington was inaugurated as the first president in 1789. The Bill of Rights, comprising the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, was adopted in 1791 to guarantee individual liberties such as freedom of speech, religion, and the press. The early years of the United States were fraught with challenges. Internally, the nation grappled with economic struggles, debates over states' rights versus federal power, and the moral quandary of slavery. Externally, It navigated relations with European powers and conflicts with indigenous nations. Despite these difficulties, the new nation began to expand. The Louisiana Purchase of 1823, under President Thomas Jefferson, doubled the size of the United States. The Lewis and Clark expedition, which followed, mapped this vast territory and inspired further westward migration. The founding of America is a story of resilience and determination, but also one marked by contradictions and struggles. It is a tale of people striving for freedom and opportunity, while others were subjected to oppression and injustice. As we reflect on this history, let us remember the lessons of the past and strive to create a future that embodies the ideals of liberty, equality, and justice for all. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of America's founding.